every penetration tester knows. So first step that actually to find vulnerable things on any port, you have to perform the Nmap scan. So as usual, I will perform Nmap scan. Command is pretty simple and self-explanatory, nothing that much complicated. So we have 3 port open, that is 22, 111, and 8983. So let me dig more in detail to find out what is running on this port. So I will actually perform some detailed scan on these ports. Like I have a 22, I have 111, and I have 8983. These are the 3 ports that's actually open on the system. So let me perform some common scripts and thing like this, and let me see what is running on these ports. So yeah, so we got the results from Nmap, and Nmap is actually telling us some info, giving us some information about these ports. On port 22, we have SSH, and port 111 contains some RPC bind. But the most interesting thing that we can see there, that is HTTP is running on 8983, and the service is actually Apache Solar. So it's a vulnerable application. It's a known vulnerable application. It's a vulnerable to Log4j. So it's not that much like a thing that I'm inventing one thing, but this is already known vulnerable application. So let me check if I can access. Yeah, I can.
Welcome to Global Information Security Society for Professionals of Pakistan.
Okay. So my name is Muhammad Anwar, and I am certified EC-Council Instructor. I am instructor for CompTIA, as well as I am the instructor for Huawei and a few other security vendors that actually providing training for InfoSec. I have a few of my certification is listed below. Like you can see the badges. These are the few one. I have like a 40 plus certification in the field of InfoSec. And most of my work is actually the offensive side. And today we are going to discuss the Log4j. That's widely nowadays as widespread vulnerability. और इसकी पॉपुलैरिटी की रीजन ये है कि इट्स अ वेरी इजी टू एक्सप्लॉइट एंड ओनली the thing is you have to detect where is the vulnerability. Other rest of the things are pretty much simple. और आज के सेशन के अंदर we will set up the lab actually to exploit a vulnerable application. Application is pretty simple. Like it's a Solar. It's using the Log4j the plugin to actually log the user interaction with the web application. तो इसमें होता क्या है, जितनी भी यूजर्स उस वेब को हिट कर रहे हैं, इस वेब पे लैंड कर रहे हैं, their activity is being logged by this Log4j. So lab is set up, and let me show you the few slides. Then we will actually move towards the practical demonstration of this lab. So as usual, a little bit explanation of the vulnerability, how it works, what is the schema, how it works actually. So it's actually the Java naming and directory interface, which is actually the vulnerable for the remote code execution. ये बेसिकली अगर हम सिंटैक्स को देखें तो अगर जावा नेमिंग द इनिशियल कॉन्टेक्स्ट लुकअप के अंदर स्ट्रिंग एक पास हो रहा होता है, और अगर स्ट्रिंग के अंदर we actually pass the vulnerable and malicious input, it could actually can be executed or can actually be execute hogi balki from that machine and actually give us the remote code execution on that machine. अब इसके ऊपर हम कैसे सेटअप करेंगे कि वो उसका रिमोट कोड जो है वो हमें रिवर्स कनेक्शन भेंगे या उस रिवर्स कनेक्शन हमारे पीसी के ऊपर आए, उसके लिए लैब डिमॉन्स्ट्रेशन है हमारे पास। तो आज की सेटअप टोटली
Question.
प्योरली लैब ओरिएंटेड है। इसमें हम लैब ही करेंगे एक छोटी सी, और किसकी बेसिकली देखेंगे कि इसकी जो एक्चुअल लाइक फंक्शनैलिटी है या इसको जो एक्सप्लॉइट किया जा रहा है इतना एक्सटेंसिवली, तो मोस्टली यूज केसेस के अंदर यही स्कीमा यूज हो रहा है जो हम लैब में करने जा रहे हैं। अगर आप ये अपने पास सेटअप कर सकते हैं, यू कैन एक्चुअली check your infrastructure, your organization that is actually using Java capabilities, like उसके log4j की library use हो रही है, या some application that is actually you don't know that they are using log4j, but they are actually having the capability of log collection from the user, from the like user interaction, तो उसको आप test कर सकते हैं. So we can move to web setup, lab setup. We have a vulnerable log4j application. We have LDAP server जो हमने setup किया है Kali Linux के ऊपर, and we have a malicious Java class, and the code is pretty simple. Don't worry, you can actually find this code on internet very easily. So we are not going to write some code, and I will not engage you in writing code and thing like this. It's a pretty simple thing. You can find everything on the internet. ये वर्नेबल एप्लीकेशन भी इंटरनेट के ऊपर है, गिटहब की रेपो भी मैं अक्सर शेयर कर सकता हूँ. यू कैन एक्चुअली बिल्ड दिस होल सेटअप इन और योर लोकल एनवायरनमेंट, सो इट्स वेरी नॉट दैट मच डिफिकल्ट. So before going to the lab, as usual, it's for educational purpose. We are not liable for misuse of this technique and tool because it's widely using for like exploitation. Meanwhile, it's a very hot topic nowadays. So let me share my screen. Let me share my Kali Linux. Can you see my Kali Linux right now?
Quite fine, good.
Okay, so we have a machine that is actually on it's on the IP address. Let me scan Nmap as usual. We perform Nmap to actually scan the ports of the machine. So it's a pretty simple and straightforward mechanism. Every penetration tester knows. So first step that actually to find vulnerable things on any port, you have to perform the Nmap scan. So as usual, I will perform Nmap scan. Command is pretty simple and self-explanatory. Nothing that much complicated. So we have 3 port open, that is 22.111 and 8983. So let me dig more in detail to find out what is running on this port. So I will actually perform some detailed scan on these ports. Like I have a 22, I have 111, and I have 8983. These are the 3 ports that's actually open on the system. So let me perform some common scripts and thing like this, and let me see what is running on these ports. So so we got the results from Nmap, and Nmap is actually telling us some info, giving us some information about these ports. On port 22 we have SSH, and port 111 contains some RPC bind. But the most interesting thing that we can see there, that is HTTP is running on 8983, and the service is actually Apache Solar. So it's a vulnerable application. It's a known vulnerable application. It's a vulnerable to log4j. So it's not that much like a thing that I'm inventing one thing, but this is already known vulnerable application. So let me check if I can access. I can actually access this web application. Okay, let me share it in my Kali Linux. Let me again share. So I know my virtual machine is here. So let me open this application over here. Let me open this application and let's see 8983 is the port on which actually, okay, 8983. So Solar is running smoothly and we can access this Solar admin panel on web interface. So we can see different paths on the admin panel, but the thing is जो URL हम exploit करने जा रहे हैं, that is available for everyone. It's not requiring, it's not authenticated page, and you can actually send the payload. Everyone can send the payload if he knows that this application is running on some server. So let me show you. You can actually find out the log page that actually tells you that this page is vulnerable. Let me show you the log pages. That is very important to show you. तो वहां पे आपको लॉग पेजेस दिखाने से जरूरी है कि इसके अंदर आपको अंदाजा हो कि किस पेज को हमने कहां से डिटेक्ट किया कि इट्स वर्नेबल। अगर आपकी एप्लीकेशंस के अंदर कोई लॉग कलेक्ट हो रहा है तो उसके अंदर ये इंडिकेशंस होंगी। यहाँ पे लॉग पेजेस को आप जब आप व्यू करेंगे तो उसमें आपको कोई पैरामीटर पास होता हुआ दिखाएगा, नजर आएगा। लेट मी शेयर दैट। अगर इसके लॉग देखें तो इट लुक लाइक दिस पेज। लेट मी शेयर इट अगेन। अच्छा, आप लोगों को ये लॉग पेज नजर आ रहा है? दिस इज these are the solar logs
विजिबल
clearly
है।
visible. Okay, good. So the interesting thing we can actually have a look on ये है कि इस स्पेसिफिक यूआरएल के ऊपर कोई पैरामीटर पास हो रही है। पाथ इज एडमिन कोर्स, और पैरामीटर के अंदर अगर आप देखें तो पैरामीटर के अंदर एक अरे पास हो रही है, बट इट्स एम्प्टी। और let me first check if I can actually reproduce this thing on my web application. First, let me copy this path. And yeah, okay, अब हमारे पास solar, we have the solar application, and if we can actually reproduce the URL, that is admin slash, you can see यहाँ पे आपको कुछ रिस्पॉन्स आपका जिस्म की सूरत पे आ रहा है, लेकिन चूंकि अभी इस वक्त हमने कुछ पैरामीटर्स को पास नहीं किए तो इस आपको ब्लैंक ये रिस्पॉन्स नजर आ रहा है। अच्छा, अब हम कुछ सिंपल टेस्टिंग करेंगे। वी विल परफॉर्म वेरी सिंपल टेस्टिंग। we will run netcat on our PC, and we will actually pass some parameter to this application if it actually hit our listening port. Okay, so $999 और हमने लिस्टिंग स्टार्ट कर दी है। we know our URL is right now clear. Our URL is ifconfig. So our URL in this case is 136. So let me make a curl to this URL. Let me change the IP address. Right now my application is running on 10.10.218.45. I have copied this URL and make a curl command to ठीक है, ये मैंने कर्ल कमांड सेंड की है, सॉरी। अच्छा, अब मैं थोड़ी कमांड स्ट्रक्चर आपको क्लियर कर लूं। यहां तक तो यूआरएल है, यू कैन सी दैट at this point. After this point, we have produces any parameter, like it could, we can actually pass test, and then this our international known syntax for log4j, and I'm sending ldap command to the particular web page. This is the my web Linux address. So I am listing on port 9999. तो मैं यहाँ से इसको हिट करता हूँ, इसको कल कमांड सेंड करता हूँ. लेट मी चेक if we can receive anything on our netcat. You can see if we have received a raw data from the server, because it is not ये कह सकते हैं कोई स्ट्रक्चर डाटा नहीं है. वहां से हिट कमांड हो कि यहाँ तक पहुंच रही है, बट चूंकि ये कोई प्रॉपर शेल नहीं है, कोई आपको कोई एग्जैक्टली कोई आपको पाथ नहीं मिल रहा, लेकिन वो हिट हो रही है, इसको यूआरएल को हिट कर रही है कमांड यूआरएल के बाद. So we have found that this URL is vulnerable. At least we can actually have some sort of input for for remote code from this page. Now अब हमने इसको थोड़ा सा स्ट्रक्चर करना है इस कोड को, क्योंकि ये हमारे पास जो वर्नेबल क्लास थी जो मैंने आपको एप्लीकेशन उस पर दिखाई थी अभी स्लाइड के ऊपर भी, इसको हम कोई भी चीज पास कर सकते हैं. अब LDAP को हम कोई रिक्वेस्ट पास करेंगे और LDAP बेसिकली लोड करेगा मेरी कॉलिनेक्स से मलिशियस जावा की क्लास. अच्छा, यहाँ पे मैं थोड़ी सी डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन आपको पेंट के ऊपर बना दूं, सो आपको पूरे फिलॉसफी समझ आ सके इसकी. लेट मी शेयर माय पेंट विद यू गाइस. This is the vulnerable application. Let me show you. This is the vulnerable application, that is log4j. Vulnerable application. और यहाँ पे वो जो URL चल रहा है, that is URL जिसको हम हिट कर रहे हैं, that is admin/core course. Okay, ये वो एप्लीकेशन है जिसके ऊपर वर्नेबल एप्लीकेशन चल रही है. सो हियर वी हैव द Linux. अब Linux हमारे पास यहाँ पे एग्जिस्ट कर रही है. Linux के ऊपर हमने डिफरेंट सेटअप करना है to actually get the reverse shell from this vulnerable application. यहाँ पे हमने 3 सेटअप किए हुए हैं. यहाँ पे हमने LDAP सर्वर खड़ा किया है, उसके बाद हमने यहाँ पे malicious जावा कोड जो है जो हम सर्व करेंगे वो है, और तीसरी थिंग इज दैट थर्ड थिंग इज एक्चुअली आवर netcat listener. So let me tell you that this one is our LDAP server. And this is our malicious Java code, Java class that we will load into this application. And here we are running our netcat listening on 9999. Okay, so first of all, what we will do, we will send a request. This is our Linux. This is how so all setup is done on our Linux. Okay, so what we will do, we will actually perform some action, like we will hit the URL और उस URL से हम रिक्वेस्ट भेजेंगे LDAP को. LDAP के अंदर रीडायरेक्ट एक लगा होगा. It will actually pick this Java class and this malicious Java class. In this Java class we have actually हमने इसको malicious इस तरह बनाया हुआ है कि हमने इसमें रिवर्स कोड रखा हुआ है, रिवर्स शेल रखा हुआ है. ये रिवर्स शेल लोड होगा यहाँ पे इस एप्लीकेशन के अंदर जो कॉल आएगी. ओके, यहाँ पे कॉल एग्जीक्यूट होने के बाद हमें रिवर्स शेल यहाँ पे मिलेगा. So if you have any confusion in this model, you can actually ask at this moment, because this is the critical thing to understand how this log4j actually works. No question, we can move. Clear? Can we move? Everybody's comfortable with this explanation?
Yeah, totally comfortable. Carrying
Okay,
on.
okay, thank you. So once again, here is our vulnerable application that is vulnerable to Log4j. Here we have built a LDAP server, and this is our we have built a Java class that is actually serving on some other port. Then that is actually we will actually serve this application on like other port. We could actually serve this application on 8000 port on the Kali Linux. Okay, so let me start with the practical demonstration. So we have this netcat listed and 9999. So I have built this LDAP server, and I will give you the resources. You can actually have this server on the GitHub. This is available. You can actually configure this LDAP server very easily on your Kali Linux. Actually, there is all information available on this website on this GitHub. Let me show you if I can scroll it down. So each step is mentioned over here, how you can actually configure this LDAP server on your Kali Linux. It's pretty simple. Okay. So if someone wants these resources, this is available. I will share in a chat. If you want to configure it locally, let me share it in the chat. One question is in chat. Can you explain one more time? Okay, after the like demonstration, I will go for this diagram again, and I will explain the exploitation again. Okay, so don't worry. I have shared the link with everyone that this is the LDAP server, and actually I have configured this LDAP server to actually speed up our process to demonstrate this vulnerability. So I need to run this. Let me show you the command. I have write it down over here. If you guys are interested, I can share this file too. ये मैं आपके साथ दोबारा ये फाइल भी शेयर कर दूंगा. इसमें मैं ये बेसिकली ये इंस्टॉलेशन की कमांड ये है. GitHub मैंने GitHub से रेपो उठाई. Then I have run this command to install this LDAP server, and this is the command for use for installation of this LDAP server. Then I have run this LDAP server with this command, with the help of this command. अच्छा इसमें हो क्या रहा है, अब इसको मैं थोड़ा सा आपको एक्सप्लेन भी करके देता हूँ. मैं कॉपी करके पहले इसको रन कर लूँ. I will explain it. So I can actually run this command over here. So let me explain this command. यहाँ तक ये LDAP सर्वर की रन करने की कमांड है, और इसके बाद we are actually referring this LDAP server to this URL. Any request which will actually land on this LDAP server will be redirected to this URL. Okay. And अभी हमने एक्सप्लॉइट बनाया नहीं है, लेकिन हमने ऑलरेडी इसको पहले से इसको फॉरवर्ड कर दिया है. So our LDAP is up and running. It is listening on 1389. It's one well-known port used for LDAP protocol. So any request will land on this 1389 will eventually move to this URL. And on this URL, we have to write an exploit code. So let me show you. It's a very simple code. I have I have put it over here to actually give you a clear view. ये Java की क्लास है, और इसमें हमने सिर्फ और सिर्फ रिवर्स नेटकैट से एक रिवर्स कनेक्शन लिया हुआ है, नथिंग एल्स. और ये डायरेक्टरी चूंकि मैंने ऑलरेडी बना के रखी हुई है, तो एक्चुअली लेट मी रिमूव rm exploit class. So we have only exploit.java, gedit exploit.java, and this is the our exploit code. अब हम इसको बिल्ड करने जा रहे हैं. यहाँ पे हमारे चूंकि वो मेरा Kali Linux की आईपी एड्रेस ये है, यहाँ पे मुझे रिवर्स कनेक्शन चाहिए, तो मैंने ये रिवर्स कनेक्शन की आईपी यहाँ पे मेंशन कर दी. सो फेयरली गुड. मुझे अब इस एप्लीकेशन को, जावा की एप्लीकेशन को बिल्ड करना है, तो मेरे पास एक कमांड है, दैट इज वेरी सिंपल, जावा कंपाइलर यूज करने वालों को इसमें कोई वो नहीं होगा कंफ्यूजन. So let me build this application. I have built this application. Now I will have a Java class file. जब build करूंगा तो मेरे पास Java class आ गई. ये Java class हम LDAP के जरिए लोड कराएंगे vulnerable application के पास. ठीक हो गया? So now let me open Python 3 and HTTP server. So my this directory is not available on internet. Think it like it's anyone who is actually on the internet or internet right now. It's for internet. अगर आपके पास public IP है, you can access from the internet. So it's a local demonstration. So right now it's fairly good for my private network, local network. अब मैंने सर्व कर दिया इसको. Now actually मैंने यहाँ से कल की कमांड भेजनी है. अब एक दफा फिर उस डायग्राम को जहन में रखें. Our first command will hit that URL, and that URL will actually go for this LDAP server, and this LDAP server is referring the call to another server, that is malicious server, that is this where this exploit is actually running, and this is the our directory where this class is actually present in this directory. Okay. और हमने और इस डायरेक्टरी के इस क्लास के अंदर हमने कोड को रिवर्स शेल को फेंका है किसके ऊपर, कालिनिक्स के directory के ऊपर, that is 9999, this one. So I will curl that command and will try to get the demonstration like exploit को उधर call करने के लिए. So I have exploit code. I will share that code, don't worry. मेरे पास URL क्या है exploit का 218.45 218.45. So I will hit that URL. Let's see if we can get the reverse shell on our Linux. So let me check first. LDAP को request receive हुई है. Yes, LDAP ने first of all जैसे ही मैंने curl किया, it hit the LDAP server और LDAP ने आपके exploit query की इस request को redirect किया towards exploit class. Exploit class के पास हमारी request receive हुई है 200. ये देखिए request receive हो गई है. ये क्लास लोड हो गई है आपके वर्नेबल इस एप्लीकेशन के ऊपर. लाइक उस एप्लीकेशन ने ये क्लास लोड कर ली है और उसने रिवर्स कनेक्शन थ्रो किया है ऑन 9999. लेट्स सी इफ वी कैन चेक इफ वी गॉट द रिवर्स कनेक्शन, दैट इज सोलर. अब इसको थोड़ा सा इंटरेक्टिव बना लें. इंटरेक्टिव बनाने के लिए एज यूजुअल वो कमांड हम यूज करते हैं स्पैमिंग के लिए. हम शेल को स्पैम कर लेते हैं. और इसको थोड़ा सा और इंटरेक्टिव बनाने के लिए ये एक्सपोर्ट कर लेते हैं इसका एनवायरनमेंट. सो नाउ वी हैव फुल फ्लेज इंटरेक्टिव शेल. So we have the solar and actually we can see if अच्छा इसमें ये चूंकि mostly this application is running with the root privileges, so इसमें हमें बहुत ज्यादा तरद्दुद नहीं करना पड़ता इसको इसकी escalation करने के लिए, privilege escalation नहीं करनी पड़ती. Let's see इस केस के अंदर क्या हो रहा है. sudo -l and we can see that no password is good required for this application for the privileges for actually elevated operations. So let me do let have a root access sudo bash. So who am I? So right now I'm the root of this vulnerable application. जिस vulnerable application जिस server के ऊपर ये vulnerable application चल रही है, now I am the root of that vulnerable application. So I can do anything with this application. Now I can actually access this application. I can host my own pages. I can host the web shell on this application. How I can actually host web shell? cd solar dot web app. यहाँ पे ls again. So cd dot web app and ls again. So we have a different pages. Now let me create a text file echo and let me create this is test file and let me create info.txt. Let me create that. If I'm able to create that file or not. Okay, I have that info.txt file within that web directory. Now let me check if I can access that file. Info.txt. You can see this is the test file. Now I can host my web shell. I can do anything with this server. So it's a very pretty simple mechanism. It's not that much complicated. Anybody with little knowledge can actually set up all the setup and can have can exploit any application with Log4j. So coming back to the question, how it is vulnerable, everybody knows it's a very vulnerable. Few application, I have listed few application that is vulnerable products, and you will surprise there are hundred of application, still million of applications still vulnerable to Log4j. Million of application. You can see the Adobe, Amazon, Broadcom, cPanel, Debian based applications. You can see these MongoDB, Oracle, and they have every organization, every vendor has issued the security patch and thing like this. But the thing is, most of the applications still not patched. Even some firewalls are, because the user hota hai, that is not that much capable. Organization के अंदर जो IT person है are actually not capable of applying the patches. वो सिक्योरिटी नॉर्मली ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अंदर सिक्योरिटी पर्सनल अभी तक प्रोफेशनल की क्या कहते हैं वो नहीं है सीट्स, दे आर नॉट देयर. So still million of application are vulnerable. You can see only if I am surprised कि जो कौन सी application है that is widely available for exploit. I will not share the detail, but if you can see these detail, let me show you. I think JBoss is also vulnerable for this most critical thing. अगर आपको मैं बात करूं तो so let me show you the showdown. How much vulnerable application are there? Let me share my screen again. This is showdown. If I can go and search for JBoss, so there are I think more 14 million I think, yeah, 1.4 million devices are there that is actually vulnerable. I don't know these are devices are patched, but these devices are declared vulnerable to Log4j. So what do you think, how many people within this 1.4 billion devices are patched? I don't think so 50% of devices are patched, because ये बहुत छोटी छोटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अंदर भी डिवाइसेस लगी हुई हैं, and they are not capable, or they are not even aware of this Log4j vulnerability that is actually within this application. So if you can see this is the one application, you can actually figure out other application. I can actually I will not go into much details, but it is actually very vulnerable and dangerous thing. So millions of applications are vulnerable. And again, someone requested to explain the diagram again, how it actually works. If you have any question, you can actually ask me while I can. Yeah, this is the actually exploitation diagram. You can unmute your mic and you can ask any question. Let me explain again. This is our Log4j vulnerable application, and our crafted URL that we hit through the curl and actually hit this LDAP server. This LDAP server actually hit this Java class, load this Java class. It is redirected toward this Java class. This Java class is loaded over here. It is actually like we can actually have this class loaded over here. And when this code is executed, we get the reverse shell over here. So it's a pretty simple mechanism. Anyone have any sort of question, you can actually ask. Okay. So thank you for your time. Sajad bhai, अगर कोई last पे कोई है question, anybody have any question, so he's welcome. Otherwise,
अनवर भाई मुझे एक चीज हाँ पहले पूछ ले
Sorry, you go ahead.
no issue, you can go ahead. No issue.
Okay, sir, मेरा question था Anwar साहब, like in our environment, if we want to know how many services or devices are infected by the log4j, how we can check it? Like if we don't have a proper system in place to monitor everything, then what is a manual way to check the services or
okay.
applications and devices?
Okay, very good question. Lot of scanning application has been developed now. There is a PowerShell that actually look for the vulnerable application. There are some multiple repos that actually scan your local environment. GitHub has I think I have listed top 10 application, and I will share these all the application in the group. And I have seen many of the posts that is already been shared in the group, Gispp group. So if you want that, I have to give you demonstration of all the application that actually works. We can arrange another session, and we can actually show you the result from the different. But I cannot build all the lab environment for all sort of detection mechanism. क्योंकि कुछ detection mechanism different schema में काम कर रही होती हैं, कुछ different में. So sometime the PowerShell script works better for some in local environment. In some time, the other application scanner is working fine. So no hard and fast rule is there. You have to try anything you found on the GitHub for scanning and detection. This is what I believe. I have tried for customer. I have tried 8-9 tools to detect their environment if their environment has any log4j vulnerability. So you need to build a small repo or a small set of tools to actually test your environment.
I got it. For this picture, I asked the question actually because when I joined late a bit, but when I was looking at the picture, it was showing me like everything is going from your root to the Kali Linux, but there was no like it was not sending back. So I was like, how it is listening, and then you make this arrow on the Java class, it cleared me for many things. I mean, I'm not good in Kali Linux, but I know the ABC. So I was like, how it is listening back. That loop was missing for me. So in this one, whatever you created everything on your Kali Linux device, nothing on the no payload on your LDAP server or anything. It's just listening only or redirecting the URL, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
LDAP is totally a medium actually directing towards a payload. You can actually build this LDAP server anywhere on the AWS, anywhere, and you can actually redirect the payload to your even any site on the internet. So actually, that's why it's a very dangerous and critical thing, because the first URL you are hitting, it's LDAP server, that is benign. It's like a very legitimate thing, and then the request is redirected to the malicious server, and then malicious server actually load into this vulnerable application. And when this Java class will be executed on the application, it will actually throw the reverse shell to the target C2 server, or you can say anything, any setup that is actually set up by the hacker.
Okay. Other than Kali, there are like tools to do the same thing, or it's only through Kali We can
No, there are
exploit it.
several tools. I can build this on the Ubuntu. I can build this on any Linux distribution. I just need a LDAP server and a simple hosting mechanism Java class, a very benign class. It's
Okay.
a you can actually pop up the calculator with the help of this Java class. It's depending on you what sort of
Oh,
functionality you actually embed this in this Java class. Anything that is in the Java class will be executed on this application.
got it. Got it.
I have another question from the same thing. Actually, we have talked about the LDAP server. So, like in our utility companies or the like let's take it as the aircraft manufacturing companies. If we consider some softwares are running, some servers are running on the aircraft itself or the companies on the computers itself. So wherever do we think that the LDAP server, there is no connection. So shall we consider those things secure? Because I can't see any airline or airplane manufacturing companies mentioned in among those who are vulnerable.
No, the LDAP server is not vulnerable. LDAP server is the mean to actually redirect the malicious request to some malicious location. So LDAP server is pretty like you can say it's not vulnerable itself. Our
Sorry,
application that is running Log4j is vulnerable actually. So
Ra-
if
uh, my point, sorry, my point was like if there is no connection, like there is nothing about the LDAP server, if there is the LDAP server is not an intermediate thing in between, it means those things which are not connected through LDAP, they are secure. We can consider them secure, right?
no. If your application is connected with the internet, we can host our LDAP anywhere. I need to supply the parameter to the vulnerable application. It will hit the LDAP server anywhere on the internet. If your vulnerable application is visible to internet, if it is running on the local environment, then case is different. It's not connected with the internet directly internet. Then he has to build some other mechanism. There are several other mechanism too that actually you can say that can serve the purpose. But apparently, LDAP is very easy mechanism, and if your application is somehow connected with the internet, the exploitation will be much easier.
Thank you very much. Thank you for clarification.
Actually,
Assalamu alaikum,
our
Anwar.
request land over here. Yeah, please.
Yeah, Anwar, I have a question. I'm a SOC analyst. If I have seen some particular traffic in the server for this LDAP request, so it passed from our security control, but I didn't see any other connection for this LDAP server or somewhere. So what does it mean? Only one traffic I receive as a GET request to
So
that
he's
server.
trying to figure it out. If this vulnerable has this application has log4j capability, if the remote person is like figuring out the log4j application, he's not actually sure that there is any vulnerable application. He's scanning for the vulnerable application. Once he will be sure, he will definitely go for the LDAP and will actually load the class on this vulnerable application. If you see, I have at first instant, I have just open reverse shell and just send the command to the URL, vulnerable URL. I have didn't required any LDAP server. It will hit my reverse shell. Let me show you again. Let me give you clear understanding of this. For SOC analysts, you need to consider the environment. This is for first step is to detect the vulnerability. For vulnerability, we don't know LDAP server. We don't need any LDAP server. Just focus on the demonstration, right? Let me exit it. So this is let me open the another netcat session. Let me exit it. Exit, clear. So let me open netcat lvnp, and I'm only want to detect if this application is vulnerable or not. this is the only netcat I have run on my PC, and I will hit that URL. I don't need any exploit. I don't need any, the LDAP server. I will only hit that a netcat directly. You can see that this is the word LDAP, but actually it's hitting the URL on this specific path. Okay, it nothing to do with the actually LDAP. Okay, I just put any word over here and I hit this URL. Okay, so what it is doing, it's actually hitting this URL, nothing else. So it will give us clear clue that it is actually the I'm getting the reverse shell or something command is being executed on the vulnerable application. I just press enter and I can see here. You can see I have received something raw data over here. So at the first stage, the hacker will perform simple enumeration. So you don't need to go for the LDAP at first instance. Clear?
Clear. So it's mean this application is not exploited at that time.
No,
Or he
it's not
find on.
exploited. It's an enumeration phase. You only want to know if the log4j is running and actually is vulnerable.
Got it. Thank you.
Zoeb, you have another question in the chat. You can ask it directly.
Yes, I have seen other than the LDAP request, I have seen multiple like DNS requests as well. Anwar?
Yeah, these are different mechanisms. I've told you that there are several mechanisms, and I cannot explain all the mechanism without demonstrating in a practical way, because it needs a lot of time to discuss and actually give a clear concept about how we actually use the DNS request, and we can actually get the enumeration and the vulnerability, sort out the vulnerability in the environment, how actually we can gather the information. So sometime there is a different security mechanism who actually block the request after a log4j, when it come to the public. Different SIEM solution has blocked the request for the LDAP and thing like this. So now the hackers are doing some different mechanism. Like अब मैं आपको एक दो तीन repos दिखा देता हूँ. And they are actually making different request for this. They have actually, अगर आपको मैं slide भी दिखा दूं, तो slide के ऊपर मैंने mention किया हुआ है कि if it's not using LDAP, it can use RMI, remote method invocation. Okay, it can also use domain name server, DNS server. Let me share this slide again, if you can see this slide. Here I have mentioned different methods, but for right now मेरे पास इतना time नहीं है कि मैं सारे methods को explain कर सकूं. But you can actually use this RMI, you can use LDAP, or you can use domain name service. These are all the way to actually load the object, class object on this vulnerable server. So I have choose this LDAP server. This is pretty simple to actually demonstrate. That's why I have choose this protocol. You can actually go with RMI, you can go with DNS. It's up to you.
Okay.
So no question. Thank you for guys for your time, and thank you for bearing me for this period of time. I think 50 minutes and so. And hopefully in future I will come up with these solutions, like the tools that actually use to detect things. I have 2-3 more lab environments, but the time constraint is there. We cannot spend 2-3 hours to manage these things. Hopefully I will try to manage another session on different tools and how they are detecting, and what the way you can actually use this tool in your environment. So that will be on defensive side. my normally my one session is in offensive side, one is in defensive side. So this one again is in the offensive side, and I hopefully the next one will be in the defensive side, and I will figure out the different tools and their performance in the local environment.
Anwar, sorry for that to interrupt again. Anwar, if we see for the same question, if we see the traffic, only the command he passed it and reached to the server, maybe he's scanning something. So what action actually we need to do it at that time for that particular server or for that particular request? Although this is not reachable, the LDAP query is not equal to the attacker server. So what action we need to do in that case?
Yeah,
We block the connection.
this is like you can create some rules in your SIEM solution. If you receive any sort of request from any IP, you can block that IP. You can actually figure out where is this request is hitting and where is this application. You can actually mitigate this application. So there are different, the way to mitigate the things. But again, it's a very vast topic to discuss the different viable solution. This is actually you are asking about if you receive any request and what to do with next. Actually, there is not a single answer for this question. Different people are different using different technique to mitigate this thing. Some are actually implementing different rules in their SIEM solution. QRadar has launched published their own set of rules that you can actually implement. There are for Splunk, they have another rule set. So you can actually figure out from their respective repositories. So for me, you can actually do anything with the finding.
Okay, thank you.
You can actually look for the exact location where this this request is going for, like which application is probably vulnerable. And you can at first step you need to disable the log4j utility. This is what is recommended, and I will share the recommendation from I think SANS. They have published an article for this log4j, and that is amazing. I think everybody should go and have a review of it. Yeah, recording is available for this session, and you can actually find this recording on the YouTube soon after that. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned, and we will soon, inshallah, I will be come up with some new content that hopefully will be interesting for you guys.